Gary Stearman here with a Prophecy in the News Daily Update. It is June 15th, and I have a couple of guests with me. L.A. Marzulli, author from California, and Tom Horn, a highly skilled author and lecturer, by the way, speaks all over the place. Why are they here? Well, we have just finished making 4 broadcasts, and these broadcasts were a progressive investigation into what is commonly called the UFO problem, only it's much bigger than that, gentlemen. It goes all the way back to the fall of Lucifer and comes up to the present day in its present form. And we're going to prepare those 4 programs and have them in the very near future on Prophecy in the News. Tom, you've worked on a number of projects that involve problems that are not usually spoken of among Christians. They're problems involving the alien outbreaks that we read about, commonly the UFO problem. You've addressed this in a number of publications and books. What do you have to say to people who say, well, I don't want to touch that question with a 10-foot pole. I'm staying strictly away from anything that has to do with UFO aliens. How is that biblical?
Well, how is it biblical? For me, of course, it started, and as people will discover in this 4-part series that will be being broadcast, it started with the study of the Watchers and what was happening with these very powerful angels that histories from around the world record the story of the gods who came down, mingled themselves with humanity, out of which was born this unusual life form. Now, what makes it relevant and newsworthy today is because we are repeating technology that, for the life of me, Gary, seems to be almost identical, if not identical, to what the Watchers did, in that laboratories around the world, public and private, we are now crossing the species barrier. We are blending animals with humans, with other kinds of life forms, and even the Pentagon now believes that human enhancement will form the next arms race. Imagine that. We just kind of got past that between the Soviet Union and America in recent history, and the nuclear arms race. We thought we had that settled. Now we have something far more exotic, and it leads to things that I think are prophetic.
Now, in our upcoming programs, we discussed the fallen ones of the old world before the flood, the Nephilim, and how they corrupted the human genome. And we talked about the prophecy of Jesus and how he prophesied that this whole situation would be repeated in the last days before his coming again. And so we're seeing today a lot of strange phenomena, which usually are written off as lights in the sky, lights in the night, maybe visitors from outer space, UFOs. Nobody wants to talk about it. And L.A. Marzulli here has written several books on the subject. What would you say to the average Christian about the current manifestation of the UFO situation?
Basically this, that we know from 2 Thessalonians, and we've talked about this, to sort of amplify it in the programs that will be aired here. What we talk about in 2 Thessalonians that Satan comes with all signs and lying wonders. And what does that mean? Sometimes we just want to skip over that verse and not really understand that the light show, that the enemy, the fallen one, has been preparing this for thousands of years, literally. He knows his time is short. He's been building up and creating not only modern Nephilim, in other words, the hybrids, which we'll talk about later, but he's ramping up and creating this, what I believe is the coming great deception, where people will look at this phenomena and they will believe the alien gospel, which is really the fallen angel gospel, simply this, that the extraterrestrial created all life on this planet, genetically manipulated early humans to be what we are today, created civilization, started the world's religions, and are now back at this critical juncture in human history to usher us into a new age, a time of love, peace, and prosperity. One planet, one people, please, will be their calling card.
In other words, to be a classical Orthodox Christian, a Christian who believes Scripture, who believes prophecy, who studies the Bible verbatim, grammatically, historically. To be a Christian like that will be to be laughed at, I suppose.
I think that the 3 of us in this room, if we're alive and we see this manifestation, we will obviously be arguing against it just like we are now, a priori before it's happened.
So-
we will be regarded as Neanderthals.
Is
for thinking
disclosure
anything.
about to happen? Everybody talks about disclosure. You see it occasionally in the news. Is that somebody pops up and says, well, the truth about UFOs is about to be revealed. Do you think that time is near?
Well, and it does seem that to some extent, even governments of the world have been moving in this direction. In the last few years, several governments, including in this series of audio interviews that we did called Official Disclosure, Prepare for Contact, which people will find out about during this series. We brought in 20 different people, filmed and recorded for 20 hours. Some of these are world-leading experts, and they too believe that the governments of the world are moving us toward disclosure. Part of this actually grew out of just a few months ago when the oldest and one of the most prestigious science communities, the Royal Academy out of Britain, came together for their 350th anniversary, and they asked, of all questions they could have asked, they asked this question: will we make contact with extraterrestrials? Are we alone in the universe? And they brought together what they called a dizzying array of intellects from NASA, from the European Space Agency, from the United Nations, to entertain this question. Are we about to make discovery on one of our extrasolar planets, or maybe are they hinting towards something else? Even the Vatican weighed in on this question.
The Vatican and intellectuals in general believe that something's about to happen, but they would attribute it to visitors from outer space, other planets, other galaxies, right?
They would, but some of them, interestingly, who are not even approaching this from a prophetic or biblical worldview, are warning that we need to be careful, because holding out the welcome mat for extraterrestrial unknowns may invite them here to view us as a hamburger.
Yes, yes, indeed. We come here to serve you, they might say, for dinner. Yeah, the great nightmare. L.A., any final word about the upcoming series? We have gone from the fall of Lucifer right up to the latest events in ufology, including cattle mutilations, abductions, and so forth, and hybridization, all of the things that the intellectuals are talking about, Christians rarely discuss.
I think people need to understand that we're living in very tenuous times, and that we're going to see the intersection of prophecy, politics, and the supernatural basically converge in the not too distant future. When the supernatural begins to manifest in forms of 3-mile wide craft or whatever over the cities of the world, it is going to throw everyone's paradigm into a tailspin. So unless a person is rooted and grounded in biblical Christianity, knows and has the Spirit of the living God dwelling in him, and knows who it is he's serving, and knows that this is deception, he or she in fact will be deceived. And that's alarming.
Thank you. Authors L.A. Marzulli, I started to call him Lynn, L.A. Marzulli and Tom Horn, thanks for being Prophecy in the News today. And that's another daily update. Keep looking up.